So let's finish off the healer walkthrough, shall we? Right, obviously we're now on to boss 3. We come to Sniper Alley. As a healer, this is actually really simple. You just heal. Players will go left, players will go right, and you just throw chems around. Try not to use your hive because you'll end up having to pick it up and move it around a lot more. You can do your healing from the top, or you can run down with them. Doesn't really matter as long as you're able to accurately heal your teammates. I tend to stand just outside this door so that I'm able to heal, and I just basically just throw chems down the line. That's generally it. Left side don't really tend to need healing because there's only one enemy, it's a Chunga, and they should be pretty damn efficient at getting rid of it, but just keep an eye on it. The spawns on the right hand side do kind of seem sporadic at first, but it basically just sort of goes spawn point 1, spawn point 2, spawn point 3, then 1, 2, 3, and then 1 again. Once you've done that, grab the rocket if you've got rockets. If not, wouldn't worry about it, and make your way down. Once you're at the end, depending on how your team wishes to do it, don't forget your key as well. But depending on how your team wishes to do this part, either with Oxys and EMP or with a Bullet King, you might want to figure out beforehand, because if you need Oxys and EMPs, you may need to overcharge. If to do it with a Bullet King, don't worry too much about it. Wait for people to grab their key, and then everybody drop down. Obviously, if you are doing Oxys, then people will need to wait as to not force a spawn point down below, which is essentially what we're doing now. We're trying to see if someone's going to go do Oxys or whether we can do it the old-fashioned Bullet King way. But once we've all figured it out, you drop down and you just wait. Typically, the healer will not be doing rockets, but I'm a saucy minx, so I will be doing Le Rocket. And all I'm going to do is fire at one of the posts. And then make my way across. What I like to do is I like to chem on top of the ladders so that those climbing the ladders they typically will take damage. And lo and behold, they get healed on their way up, and obviously heal the platforms as well, because there will be a bit of aggro taken. Now, I did say previously that when if you are doing the Oxy method, which we did do, you might need to overcharge. Luckily, Rise here, who was doing our Oxys, had his self-overcharge build on, so it wasn't required, but it's just a nice thing to have just in case. Obviously, at this point, we are back at our third key, so I will be doing a simple little trick just to show how to get key 1 without needing any assistance. All you've got to do is put a sticky on the edge of that grey box, just there. When everyone's ready and in place, press the door and then detonate to open. And well, that's blocking my view, but I did get it open. Don't worry too much about it. And the door will open for your third key. Don't forget to change your skill back either. I keep doing this. Anyway, we're coming up to boss 3 land. What I will do here typically is swap to an AR, because I like to do, as a healer, I will try and prioritize doing letters, or potentially will be on reading for letters. I'll explain that more when I get there. However, there are typically 2 types of ways to heal in boss 3. One of them I like to call the eager intern, which is you run around after everyone trying to heal and constantly moving the hive, spamming Oxys everywhere. You will probably run out of all your healing juices pretty damn quick, simply just because you're running around everywhere after everyone, And the moment someone takes like the slightest ball hair worth of damage, your ego, you heal them. The second way is the way I typically do it, and it's called, I'm a healer, not a necromancer. So I will typically go to blue, and that platform in the middle there, I will put my hive on top of it, and that's where it stays. Not moving it, not chasing around after anyone. People know it's there. I say it in the comms, hive is on blue. If you need heals, guess where you run? Simples. Simply because while running around, I will typically try and prioritise myself being on the opposite side for the chems. However, it also means that once Rise stops bugging out, that was interesting, it typically means that I am free to chem where is needed rather than constantly picking up my hive and moving it. And during that time frame, there are no heals. There's 8 people running around, including yourself. You cannot heal all of them to any accurate degree or measure. The only thing that I would suggest as a healer is try and prioritise the people that are pressing the buttons on either red, blue or yellow. They will need a chem or 2 thrown at their face. That's basically really it. So we're just going to speed this up now and run it around. As you can see, I'm just basically just trying to keep on top of everyone's health. No one should really be dying or taking too much damage. One thing to note on occasion is you will need to fire a chem up top to help out the person on Hasbro, as well as on the railing. You can heal through the railing. So if someone is on the catwalk above you, you can shoot the bottom of the catwalk while they're still on top of it, and the healing will still count. Don't know why, it just does. Welcome to Division. A good thing to also note is typically most healers will also be using Scorpio. Do not hit Scorpio on the boss. You will bug him out. Anyway, we're now on the part where we come to letters. So we want to situate ourselves on A. There's A, B, C. Quite simple. Typically, when it comes to letters, if the top is on fire, you as the healer will need to read them out. This is quite simple. Leave your hive where it is, head up to the top, and using your chems, just dropping them on the floor, you can heal yourself through being on fire. And when you angle your camera a certain way, you can read the letters to see if they need to go up or down. For example, there are 2 lines. We're going to use A as an example. We'll say alpha. And if the bar is not between the 2 lines, if it's up, you say alpha down. Or if it's below the 2 lines, you need to say alpha up. You need to get the bar in between those 2 lines. If the top is not on fire, the Hasbro will deal with it. However, everyone else should basically be running some form of DPS build, apart from the healer and the Hasbro. So that's 6 DPS builds. They will need to maintain the ads, keeping them under control, as well as monitoring the boss. He will pop in and out on certain occasions, as well as go on the turrets. They can't really afford to stop and do letters, so it's typically between the healer and the Hasbro. You don't have the DPS to deal with ads, or the boss, so it's better to put your skills elsewhere, such as doing letters. I did say earlier about not using Scorpio. However, some of you might be able to see that I am clearly using a Scorpio. I tend to use it for my own personal gains. It is a very powerful weapon, and with the build that I'm using, that allows me to use perfect opportunistic. It does mean that as a healer, I am somewhat able to fend for myself. I would state that if you are not familiar with a raid, I wouldn't bring Scorpio into it. Just for peace of mind, until you know when and where not to use it, I would say just put it back in your stash for now. There are plenty of other worthwhile options. You do not need the Scorpio in order to make up your overall build. There are other options for you to use. in essence. Anyway, cogs at this point should basically be done, which is mostly just running around and doing ad control. Unless of course you are the person on cogs, in which case it can get a little bit annoying because you'll need to know exactly how to do them. I will be covering them in my tank version of the walkthrough. But as you can see, people are preparing to break the lavas as well as do cogs, which is why those things on the left just there right now, they are lit up. I'm going to break one and break two. Now the healer should not be doing this. I am doing this because I'm an idiot. I don't do anywhere near enough DPS to deal with this. I should have called for help. Luckily someone did come along and help me. Healer shouldn't really be doing it because you don't do the damage to break it. The damn lava heals more than you can effectively do damage to it. And because I was down there, I wasn't paying attention to my hive and my healing and other players' health. So those 3 people that are currently down, guess whose fault that is? You are a healer. Oh, I am a healer. I should be healing, not doing other things. Anyway, just goes to show what happens when you forget your role for a second. But still, lavas at this point should be broke. So I now need to make my way across to Alpha. There's Alpha. Matchup D, because Delta has been called for going down. Next will be just follow the pattern of what is being called out. But as you can see, I am the healer. I am doing letters. Everyone else is on ad control. They are protecting me while my heals are down. I will yet again would have had to call out where my hive is so people know. And they will basically just sort of spread out and then move either clockwise or counterclockwise depending on how people want to do it, but they will all move around so that everyone has their sort of turn in the hive to get healed and out of the hive, etc. You sort of act like penguins. It's weird, and this is just sort of like a weird comfortable way to do it. Try not to sit in the hive for too long because you will be continually taking damage from varying different forms, and yeah, you'll drain the hive, which then means you're going to potentially screw up other people. I'm leaving my hive down below just because I will need to overcharge at some point when I get up here. So I've got the rocket ready to break the turret, waiting for the word. Got the word. Turret is going to be broken, and as soon as I do that, I am now going to overcharge for the player's turret, which is just on the bottom right, as you can see. That will allow that turret to basically act as our aggro tank for the boss to allow us to now damage it. Because the boss is now in its final phase, we are now able to use Scorpio. Scorpio is adding in an extra 20% damage by itself, as well as perfectly opportunistic. The reason I was healing the turret there is to keep the turret alive so the boss stays up. I have a chem duration mod, so I'm going to put healing on each of the platforms, red, yellow and blue, just to allow people to get there quite safely and press the button. You can die after you've pressed the button, you can die during pressing the button, you just can't die beforehand, otherwise the entire counter is wiped and you start again. After that, clear the area and you pick up your loot, and that is essentially boss 3. It's really simple to surmise. You basically just run around in a circle and heal people. The only thing as a healer you need to remember is you will be doing letters either from the top or from the bottom. I will hopefully be showing this in the tank playthrough, or at least the top version of it, and you can just sort of cross-reference between. Anything you'll need to know is if the top's on fire and you're the healer, you're going up. If the top is not on fire and you're healer, you're staying down. But in the meantime, have fun Good luck and don't die. It's bad for the health.